Welcome to Lesson 9A, Introduction to Rayleigh Flow. In this short lesson, I introduce Rayleigh flow. First, I'll discuss who Rayleigh was. I'll list the approximations and assumptions for Rayleigh flow, and we'll look at the control volume conservation equations. And I'll discuss the Rayleigh curve and how it ties into normal shocks. Who was Lord Rayleigh? Well, this is his real name, and he lived back in the 1800s and early 1900s. Here's a list of his accomplishments. He got the Nobel Prize in Physics for discovering argon gas. He's famous for Rayleigh scattering, which explains why the sky is blue. He's also famous for Rayleigh waves, the Rayleigh number, the Rayleigh-Taylor instability, Rayleigh-Baynard convection, and what we already discussed in this course, the Rayleigh-Peto formula. And of course Rayleigh flow, which we're talking about now. He wrote a famous book called The Theory of Sound, which was published in 1877. He also co-developed the theory of dimensional analysis. And, dear to my heart, he was a devoted Christian man like I try to be. Lord Rayleigh truly was a great man. Here's our setup for the control volume analysis of Rayleigh flow. Note that we'll talk about two different cases here. In both cases, heat is added to the control volume, in this case externally through the walls, and here through combustion, internally. You can also remove heat if these walls were cooler than the gas. We'll make these approximations and assumptions. Steady flow, we'll deal only with ideal gases. Constant area, in other words, we're talking about a straight section of pipe as drawn here with heat transfer. Negligible friction along the duct walls. Here's a big approximation, one-dimensional flow. At any cross-section, we ignore boundary layers and friction so that V is uniform or one-dimensional across the duct. But V does vary with X. For example, this flow may be accelerating from some location A to some location B. Finally, constant gas properties. Properties like gamma, Cp, and R do not change as we move down the pipe, even though heat is added. It's not such a clear approximation here. When you add heat through combustion, you also change the gas itself. So these properties do change, but for our simple analysis, even if chemical reactions or combustion provides the heat input, we still approximate these as constants. You can improve the analysis by using the average value of these properties between 1 and 2. And in either of these cases, we draw our control volume from inlet 1 to outlet 2 inside the duct. Now let's consider the conservation laws for our control volume analysis. Let's consider the external case, where heat is added from the outside, and our control volume goes from 1 to 2. With flow from left to right, and I note that rate of heat transfer, Q dot, is greater than 0 when heat is added. But we can also look at the case where Q dot is less than 0, where heat is removed. In other words, Q dot is the rate of heat transfer into the control volume. I note that this is the first time in this course where the flow is no longer adiabatic. At the inlet, location 1, we have properties rho 1, T1, P1, etc. And we have different properties at location 2, the outlet of our control volume. Consider first conservation of mass. We know that m.1 must equal m.2, which must be a constant since we assume there's no leaks through this duct, or rho VA equal constant, where we have some speed V1 and V2. And by the way, we'll always consider x as the downstream direction. Well, we can write this then as rho 1 V1 A1 equal rho 2 V2 A2. But A1 is A and A2 is A, so the A's cancel out, and we're left with rho 1 V1 equal rho 2 V2. Call this equation 1, our conservation of mass equation for Rayleigh flow, which is actually the same as previously for a normal shock in a duct, which we've discussed. Now consider conservation of momentum. I'll copy my diagram and paste it, and note that for momentum we have to consider the pressure forces, which act inward and normal. Pressure at the walls is not relevant since we'll look at the x momentum equation only? Well, from undergraduate class, we know that sigma fx is sigma out beta m dot v minus sigma in beta m dot v, which is the momentum flow rate out minus the momentum flow rate in. And this left-hand side is made up of four components: sigma fx pressure, plus sigma fx gravity or body force, plus sigma fx friction, plus sigma fx other, where this term would be non-zero if our control volume were cutting through the walls and we had forces on these walls, for example, or bolts or something like that holding it in place. But here we have none of that. We're neglecting friction. I'll say it's negligible compared to the heat transfer effects. We have no gravity terms since this duct is horizontal. And what I said at the beginning of the course applies here already, since it's flow of a gas, where we've always been ignoring the gravity term. But there is a pressure term. The net force of pressure is P1A1 acting to the right minus P2A2, since that's acting to the left. But again, A1 and A2 are the same, equal to A, the cross-sectional area of the duct. So the left-hand side of our momentum equation is P1A minus P2A. What about the right-hand side? Well, the momentum flux correction factor is 1 here for both the inlet and outlet, since it's one-dimensional flow. So the right-hand side becomes m dot V2 minus m dot V1, the momentum flux out minus the momentum flux in. But let's let this m dot be ρ2 V2 times A, and we'll let this m dot be ρ1 V1 times A, where these are the same because of conservation of mass, and there shouldn't be a subscript 2 here. And with that correction, we see that the A's cancel in each term. So the final x momentum equation, when we rearrange, is P1 plus ρ1 V1 squared equal P2 plus ρ2 V2 squared. I'll call this equation 2, and I comment that this is also the same as for our normal shock analysis, in a stationary frame of reference, of course. Let's do a quick review here, namely, recall the Rayleigh curve. When we talked about normal shocks, recall that the Rayleigh curve was the locus of all possible states that satisfy both conservation of mass and the momentum equation, are equations 1 and 2, starting at some state 1. Recall this Rayleigh curve in terms of a Mollier diagram: specific entropy on the horizontal axis and specific enthalpy H, or T for an ideal gas, since H is just CPT. So the curves will have the same shape, just different axes, whether you plot H or T. And the Rayleigh curve looks something like this. When we analyzed normal shocks, we started at location 1 or state 1 on the Mollier diagram, where the only way to get a shock is if that state is supersonic. The lower part here is the supersonic branch, and the upper part is the subsonic branch. And you may recall that the maximum specific entropy occurs when Mach number is 1. Recall that this curve was derived without specifying anything about energy. We used our mass and momentum equations, just like we're doing here. Recall also that there was one other location on this curve that satisfies the normal shock equations. We called that 2. That's a special case of the Rayleigh curve, namely, the normal shock from 1 to 2 is a special case of the Rayleigh curve in which Q dot is 0. In other words, the flow is adiabatic. But there are many other points along this Rayleigh curve. If the flow were not adiabatic, we would move instead along this curve, depending on how much heat transfer we added. In other words, Rayleigh flow, which is what we're talking about, must follow this Rayleigh curve, since Rayleigh flow satisfies conservation of mass and the linear momentum equation in our duct. In other words, for Rayleigh flow, point 2 is not restricted to this location, but can occur anywhere along this curve, starting at location 1, or state 1. If we add heat, for example, we can move to some state 2 along the curve here. If we add more heat, we can go to a different state 2. That turns out to be true even if we start with subsonic flow. You can go from one state to another state, again along this Rayleigh curve. So Rayleigh flow and normal shock flow are very similar. They both must change state somewhere along this curve. The difference is that for a normal shock, there's only one location that satisfies the equations for a normal shock. But for Rayleigh flow, we can end up in multiple places, and that's determined by the energy equation, which for the normal shock case was just adiabatic. I summarize here, the normal shock is adiabatic, Q dot is 0, whereas Rayleigh flow is not adiabatic. In other words, Q dot is not 0. Starting at state 1, if you add no heat, it stays at state 1, so 1 and 2 would be at the same point here. But if you add heat, we move along the Rayleigh curve. Recall our equation for the normal shock in terms of energy was that T01 and T02 are the same. Stagnation temperature or stagnation enthalpy are constant across a normal shock because it's adiabatic. But for Rayleigh flow, we'll see that T01 is not the same as T02, and similarly for total specific enthalpy.
If we add heat, would there still be a normal shock?
Great question, BJ. No, the normal shock is a special case with 0 heat transfer. If we add or remove heat, we just move along this curve without a normal shock.
Thank you, sir.
Now let's look at the energy equation. I redraw our control volume with heat transfer, and for this one-dimensional flow with no work, Q dot plus M dot H1 plus V1 squared over 2 equal M dot times H2 plus V2 squared over 2, where you recall that this grouping of terms is the stagnation-specific enthalpy, H01 and H02. We had this same equation for a normal shock, except we set Q dot equals 0, so that these two terms are equal. But that's no longer the case. Let's set Q equal Q dot, which is now not 0, divided by M dot, which is the heat transfer per unit mass of fluid. You can call this a specific heat transfer if you prefer, and we'll write our equations in terms of this lowercase q. So this energy equation becomes Q plus H01 equal H02. But since this is an ideal gas, we'll write this as Q plus Cp T01 equals Cp T02, or rearranging, Q is Cp T02 minus T01. I'll call this 3a, our energy equation. And sometimes it's convenient to expand out H0, so an alternate form is Q equal Cp T2 minus T1 from the H2 and H1 terms, plus V2 squared minus V1 squared over 2. This is also the energy equation for our case, and I'll call it 3b. Use whichever one is most convenient. I'll close out with some quick comments. Equation 3a shows that T0 goes up when Q is positive, and T0 goes down when Q is negative. The first case corresponds to heating, and the second case to cooling. Unlike a normal shock, stagnation temperatures are not the same. Also, temperature T may go up or down when Q is positive, depending on what the speeds do. But we'll talk about that in more detail in the next lesson. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel for more videos. 1, 2, 3.